in the surrounding neighborhood. We collected several items of evidence and several hours of video.
Peaceful trails don't always lead home. On the morning of April 28, 2023, the desert air was crisp as sunlight poured over Reach 11 Trail in North Phoenix. 29-year-old Lauren Heike laced up her shoes for a walk she'd done countless times, a ritual she cherished. But this time she didn't come back. Her phone went silent, her routine vanished, and the trail she loved became the center of a mystery no one expected. To understand how this happened, we first need to understand who Lauren was. Lauren Heike, 29, spent most of her life in the serene surroundings of Kitsap County, Washington, before heading south to the warm, open skies of Phoenix, Arizona. Her loved ones remember her as someone who lit up every room, quick with a laugh, generous with her time, and always wearing that signature smile. As a professional esthetician, Lauren took pride in helping others feel confident in their own skin. She had just settled into a new place near Reach 11 Trail, an area she quickly grew attached to. Nature gave her peace, especially the desert, where she could walk for miles, soaking up the stillness and sun. The morning of April 28, 2023, started like any other. Lauren rang her friend River Hubble, a daily tradition between the two. They always began with gratitude, and that day, Lauren said she was thankful for coffee, the sunshine, and the chance to head out on another walk. A small, quiet joy, but one that meant the world to her. That call, unknowingly, would be the final chapter in a conversation that had become second nature. Her move to Phoenix had been about new beginnings, fresh chapters, and hope. But life, with its sharp sense of timing, had a different plan. By mid-morning the next day, April 29th, around 10 a.m., Reach 11 Trail was alive with its usual rhythm. Joggers paced themselves, dogs tugged at leashes, and the desert heat started to rise. Near 64th Street and Mayo Boulevard, someone enjoying a regular walk was about to stumble into something that would bring everything to a halt. It's a strange twist of fate, how a place that brings comfort and clarity to one person can, in a single moment, turn into the center of a mystery.
But before we begin, I just want to say thank you to my amazing viewers and subscribers. Your support through likes, shares, and comments means the world to me. Your engagement helps make these stories even more meaningful. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of true crime enthusiasts. One local woman had set out on her usual Saturday morning walk, something she'd done dozens of times before. Like Lauren, she often came to this stretch of trail, Reach 11, a quiet space tucked between Phoenix and Scottsdale, where the desert offers a calm escape from the noise of the city. But that morning felt different. As she moved along a familiar curve near Libby Street, something just off the trail caught her attention. It wasn't something she could ignore. A shape, partly hidden in the brush, stopped her in her tracks. There, in the dust and stillness, was a woman lying motionless. At that moment, she had no idea who the woman was, but the moment was unforgettable. She didn't wait. Shaken but steady, she reached for her phone and called 911. The recording, which was later shared by Phoenix police in October 2024, offers a glimpse into how a normal morning turned into a discovery that would stay with her forever.
Phoenix 911, where is your emergency?
Oh, I just found a woman's body out in the desert, and I was just going for a walk, and she's there. I didn't touch her. I didn't feel safe, but it looks like she's been there for a while, like in her mid-20s, maybe 30.
Okay, did you get a clothing description? Did you see what
She
she was
didn't
wearing?
work out clothes. She didn't work out clothes.
The 911 call lasted close to 5 minutes. Throughout it, her voice carries a quiet panic, uncertain, shaken, and trying to make sense of what's in front of her. She tells the dispatcher that the woman appears to have been there for some time. Sadly, that observation would prove accurate. Authorities later confirmed Lauren had vanished more than a day earlier during her hike on the morning of April 28th. The caller also mentions a stain near Lauren's upper clothing, an unsettling detail that spoke volumes, even without explanation. Officers from Phoenix Police Department arrived quickly, reaching the location just after 10:30 a.m. At first, they expected a typical hiking emergency, maybe a slip, dehydration, or a heat-related concern, which are fairly routine in this part of the desert. But one glance changed everything. The woman was found away from the main trail, partly obscured by desert plants and resting near a fence line. The surroundings suggested something more serious: torn fabric and personal items strewn about. Sadly, medics confirmed she had passed away, and what began as a potential rescue swiftly became a criminal investigation. Let's go back for a moment. That same Saturday morning, Lauren's close friend River Hubble begins to feel something is off. She hadn't responded to their usual gratitude check-in from the day before, a daily call they rarely missed. By the time the weekend rolled around, River grew more concerned. She hadn't shown up to her job, which was out of character. So he reached out to authorities. Unknowingly, his growing worry was unfolding in parallel with the scene developing on the trail.
Reach 11 isn't exactly off the grid. It's a well-loved local path near Scottsdale Road and Boulevard, often visited by regulars who enjoy its easy charm. That's part of what made the discovery feel so out of place. The woman who found Lauren wasn't just passing through, she lived nearby. Her husband had even nodded hello to Lauren during past hikes. They didn't know her story, but she was familiar. And now, almost by accident, this neighbor had placed the first call in what would become a case that shook the valley and made many rethink what safe really looks like. That first emergency call wasn't the only one to come in. In the days that followed, 3 additional reports reached police, each describing someone who seemed out of place near the trail. Not your average hiker, they said. A man whose appearance quickly became a focus of the case. Homicide Lieutenant James Hester stepped in to oversee the investigation, aware that time was slipping away and public concern was rising. The usual piece of the trail had started to feel different, uncertain even. Lauren had last spoken to her friend River on the morning of April 28th, just around 10 a.m. She'd gone out for a walk near her apartment, following a route she was comfortable with. But when that local woman came upon her the next morning, more than 24 hours had passed. Investigators believe the incident occurred shortly after Lauren set out, likely within the hour. The location where she was found was tucked out of view, not easily seen from the main path. That hidden spot might have offered some false sense of cover, because whoever chose it clearly wasn't hoping for an audience. Phoenix police brought in their forensic team to carefully examine the area. Items belonging to Lauren, like one of her shoes and a few personal effects, were collected, each bagged with the hope that they might offer a clue. One shoe, found close to a section of barbed wire, stood out. Investigators began to wonder, had this been premeditated, or did something escalate without warning? Her clothing suggested resistance, maybe even an attempt to flee. Still, the most promising lead came from the lab. DNA was detected on the shoe, belonging to someone else. It wasn't a match to Lauren, and that opened the door to the next phase. While that evidence was being processed, officers took to the neighborhood. Interviews were conducted with local hikers, residents, and anyone familiar with the trail. As they canvassed the area, 3 earlier 911 calls resurfaced. All came in shortly after Lauren had been found, and all described a man behaving oddly near the path. He didn't exactly fit the trail runner aesthetic. Descriptions varied slightly, but the basics were consistent. Dark clothing, a backpack, somewhere between 5 feet 8 inches and 6 feet tall. Suspicious, yes, but still too vague to bring someone in. Trails, it turns out, are great for walking, and even better for disappearing. On May 2nd, a significant lead emerged. Investigators obtained footage from a surveillance camera positioned near the trail area. Although the video quality was low, it captured a man running quickly through the brush, wearing a backpack, around the same time Lauren was last known to be in the area. His pace wasn't exactly relaxed, more urgency than exercise. Authorities shared the video with the public, labeling him a person of interest. Tips followed soon after. Callers to Silent Witness said they had seen someone like him before. One even recalled a pocket knife he often carried. Nothing large, but enough to raise questions. Investigators began to wonder if it had any connection to the case.
The investigation didn't stop with the trail. Officers began reviewing Lauren's life more closely, her workplace, social circle, and daily routines. She'd only recently settled into her new apartment near the path, so detectives explored whether anyone may have taken notice. Could this have been a coincidence, or was there intent? At a press conference on May 3rd, Lieutenant Hester leaned toward the theory of a random act, citing the nature of the crime as impulsive. Still, no possibility was taken off the table. Until something concrete turned up, guesses wouldn't be good enough. In the lab, a breakthrough takes shape. The DNA collected from Lauren's shoe is traced to someone already listed in a criminal database. This time, it's not speculation, it's a solid lead. Investigators compare the profile to what's seen in the surveillance footage. A young man in his early 20s with ties to the area. The pieces begin to align and a clearer picture starts to form. Still, police keep the details under wraps. The last thing they want is to tip off a suspect who might already feel the pressure. By May 3rd, the case reaches a turning point. Lauren's parents, Jeff and Lana, stand beside law enforcement during a press briefing, asking for help from the community. Lana's voice trembles as she addresses the cameras. Lauren was everything to us. We're just hoping someone out there knows something, anything, that could help bring this person to justice. She had a light in her that made people smile. Kind, funny, and full of life. She made every conversation feel like the best part of your day. I spoke with her all the time, sometimes twice a day. Texts, calls, just checking in. It's hard to understand how someone so full of love could be taken so suddenly. Her mother pauses, gathering herself, then urges the public to take another look, through memories, photos, anything that might help. If you ever cross paths with Lauren, you probably remember it. That was just who she was. And now even the smallest detail might matter. Somewhere out there, a missing puzzle piece is waiting, probably unaware it's holding up the whole picture. Authorities continued asking for the public's help, specifically if anyone had seen a man carrying a backpack or acting strangely near the trail. The effort paid off. More calls came in. One tip came from someone who lived nearby and noticed unusual behavior from a man in the area. Another mentioned that he'd recently been dismissed from a job due to inappropriate conduct around coworkers. Slowly, the outline of a potential suspect was taking shape. Then on May 4th, a surprising lead surfaced. A probation officer contacted detectives with a name. His client matched the general appearance of the man seen in the footage. He had a history, robbery, disorderly conduct, and lived less than a mile from the trail in Scottsdale. Officers began looking closer. Records showed he had been terminated from a previous job following reports of concerning behavior toward women. It wasn't long before the DNA results were compared to his profile and aligned. Still, police proceeded carefully. He was watched discreetly, especially after learning he had purchased a flight to Detroit. That raised immediate concerns. Surveillance teams confirmed his identity, and co-workers who saw the video helped verify it. Everything was starting to fall into place. By Thursday night, May 4th, authorities are in position. What began with uncertainty had now turned into a focused pursuit. The investigation, once full of unknowns, had reached a critical point in less than 7 days. And what follows? The arrest. The moment everything begins to come into view. Let's walk through it.
As night falls, exactly 6 days after Lauren was located along the Reach 11 trail, surveillance teams are in motion. Their suspect, 22-year-old Zion William Teasley, has been under close watch. He resides in an apartment complex situated less than a mile from where Lauren was last seen, just off Scottsdale Road. The DNA link, the grainy video of a man hurrying through the desert, and repeated sightings of someone with a backpack, it all circles back to him. Unaware that every step is being monitored, he moves through the day, not realizing the quiet buildup of a case unfolding just beyond view. Zion Teasley had been serving probation for a 2018 case involving robbery and disorderly conduct, a charge that dated back to when he was just 17. His probation officer noticed he resembled the person being described in connection to the case and alerted authorities. But the turning point came with the DNA evidence. His genetic profile was already in the system, and the results were conclusive. Once investigators confirmed he was the same individual seen on camera, identified by colleagues who recognized him from that day, the case had its suspect. To make matters more urgent, it turned out he had a flight booked to Detroit for May 5th. One more day, and this timeline might have looked very different. 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 had also joined the U.S. Marine Corps at one point, though his military involvement was brief. According to a formal statement from the Marine Corps, our records indicate that Zion 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 began recruit training at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego on March 25, 2019. He was released from the program on June 17, 2019, prior to completing training. Further information is protected under the Privacy Act. A military path that ended almost as soon as it began, one more detail in a life that seemed to change direction often, and not always, for the better. On the evening of May 4th, Phoenix police put their plan into action. A tactical team was dispatched to an apartment complex just after 6:30 p.m. According to body camera footage released later, officers knocked firmly and announced their presence. Within moments, a man walks out calmly, hands raised, offering no pushback. He's handcuffed immediately. In under 10 minutes, the arrest is complete, quick, controlled, and by the book. But who exactly is Zion William 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭? Born in 2000 and raised in Scottsdale, his encounters with law enforcement began in his teens. At 17, he was involved in a robbery case alongside two others, during which he was reportedly armed. He avoided incarceration through a plea deal, receiving probation instead. From there, life took a meandering path, mostly hourly jobs in food service and retail, none lasting long. Several former colleagues reported discomfort around him, especially women. In 2022, a restaurant supervisor let him go after a series of troubling outbursts. His temperament, they said, raised concerns. Unfortunately, those concerns stayed mostly on paper, until now. During the search of his apartment, officers recovered a pocket knife. It was small but sharp, matching the general characteristics noted in the case. Investigators also collected the backpack seen in the surveillance video, along with clothing believed to be worn during the time in question. The evidence began to stack up quickly. On May 5th, 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 was booked into Maricopa County Jail. The charges filed were significant: first-degree unlawful taking of a life, robbery, and tampering with physical evidence. Authorities believe that in addition to the primary offense, a personal item may have been taken from Lauren, adding another troubling layer to the case. In the interview room, 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 didn't offer much. At first, he claimed to have no connection to the scene, stating he wasn't anywhere near Reach 11 that day. But once confronted with the lab results and video footage, his cooperation stopped. Meanwhile, calls to Silent Witness provided more context. Several neighbors had seen him near the trail in the days leading up to the incident, acting nervous and out of place. One person reported an argument involving 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 on April 27th, just a day before Lauren disappeared. Whether he was planning something or simply wandering is still unclear. But it seems his presence in that area was no coincidence, though the reasons remain unsettled.
On May 6th, Phoenix Police Lieutenant James Hester addressed the media. Lieutenant Hester: "At this point, the evidence suggests this was not a targeted incident." His tone was firm and measured. There is no indication the suspect and victim knew each other. Standing close by were Lauren's parents, Jeff and Lana, visibly shaken. Jeff spoke briefly, thanking the public for their help. "Because of your calls, we were able to move this forward." The arrest brought a measure of relief, but it wasn't a resolution. Zion 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 remained in custody, now facing charges that would alter the course of his life. His history, already marked by instability, offered no sign that things had been improving. For Lauren's family, this development marked progress, but only the beginning of a much longer path. After all, closure can take its time, even when justice doesn't. As of now, the investigation in Phoenix continues, and Lauren's family remains in a holding pattern, waiting for accountability. A trial date has been set for October 28, 2025, in Maricopa County Superior Court. The reason for the delay? It's a complex case with a lot at stake. Prosecutors are working with DNA evidence recovered from Lauren's shoe, footage of a man seen near the trail, and numerous community reports, all indicating 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭. Back in May 2023, Lieutenant James Hester described the case as a random act, noting there was no known connection between Lauren and the accused. That statement has remained unchanged. But the legal weight increased in December 2023, when County Attorney Rachel Mitchell filed a formal notice seeking the most severe penalty allowed by law should 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 be found guilty in connection with what happened to Lauren. Lauren's family publicly backed that decision, issuing a statement through Arizona Voice for Crime Victims. It's a legal escalation, but for those closest to Lauren, it's also a declaration that her life mattered, and that someone should be held fully responsible for taking it away. We'll be there through it all to make sure Lauren's voice is heard. It's a firm promise from her family. Pursuing a capital case means heightened review, greater preparation, and often years before any resolution. And 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭's legal issues haven't stopped with Lauren's case. In July 2024, prosecutors added new charges connected to a 2020 incident involving a physical attack and burglary. Another case involving a pocket knife, though the victim survived. Then in early 2025, local news reported he was charged with 10 more counts, this time tied to alleged misconduct with minors between 2019 and 2020. According to court records, he acknowledged distributing illegal content during that period. He's pleaded not guilty to those charges, but the emerging picture is troubling. A history that includes a 2018 robbery, probation status at the time of Lauren's passing, and now additional serious accusations. So where does that leave things now? 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭 remains in custody. His bond, initially set at $1 million, was revoked due to probation violations. Investigators have assembled a solid case, supported by DNA, surveillance footage, and statements from former colleagues describing behavior that made them uneasy. But no trial has taken place yet. Lauren's parents have remained outspoken, continuing to thank the detectives and community members who stepped up. 2 holiday seasons have now come and gone without Lauren, and the extended wait for trial has only deepened the sense of loss. The proceedings are scheduled for October 2025, though that timeline remains tentative, depending on how the case progresses. And I have to say, this case hits hard. Not just because of what happened, but because of how ordinary the moment was. A walk on a familiar trail, a quiet morning, a life moving forward. It reminds me that the people we feature in these stories aren't just names and headlines. They're daughters, friends, co-workers. Lauren was doing something many of us do without a second thought. That's what stays with me. The randomness of it, the stillness of the setting, and the heartbreak that followed. This case is far from concluded. Investigators remain involved, and new details could still surface. If this story connected with you, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed. We'd also love to hear your perspective in the comments below. In the meantime, stay mindful and stay safe out there.